And welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Danny Cannell. That's Bud Elliott. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3, where we are to give you those week 11 locks every 11 a.m. Thursday. This is a date. If you want to come and hang out, jump in the chat. Tell us what kind of picks you like, and of course, react to the locks that we are giving out here. Reminder, if you subscribe to the YouTube channel at youtube.com/cover3, smash the little bell for notifications. You never even have to set an alarm. We will let you know when we go live, and you will know whenever new videos are posted. If you're listening to the audio product, wherever you get your podcasts, our thanks to you. And a reminder that if you want to add a question to a future mailbag episode, we're grabbing questions from the big old bag of mail every single Wednesday. Leave us a 5-star review, and in that review, put your question for the mailbag. We will get to it. Gentlemen, a very exciting slate ahead. We begin, as we always do, with a very quick review of last week. Tom, in week 10, 5-4 on the week. The wins were, well, first of all, congratulations to everybody. I mean, just really nice to see Lock Infinity 1-0 on the season. So we'll see what happens here. There's been a lot of chatter about a certain side that's coming up this weekend. I don't know who's going to jump in on it. We'll see right there. But Tennessee +1. Everybody gets the dub. Under 37.5 in Army Air Force. No question. Also, we've got Queen Latifah, UNITY, the under 49.5 in Texas A&M Auburn. Also a win. Baylor TCU under 58.5, also a win. And the Tulane UCF under 59.5, also a win. The L's came from under 54 in Michigan State-Purdue, South Alabama +4. Man, the Colorado State Wyoming under 41.5. It was windy, but that did not depress the scoring out there in Laramie. And then ULM +3.5. Tom, thoughts, notes on the week that was?
I hate the Sun Belt so much. I really need to stop betting Sun Belt games this season and locking them up, because I bet I'm 55-42 on the season. I bet if you take out the Sun Belt, I'm 53-10.
55-42, up 8.8 units, barreling down on our leader, Bud. We will get to Bud here in just a little bit. Chip, on the lock stock, I mean, it looks all right. You know, I'm sitting there with, Tennessee +1. You're sitting there with an under 37.5, UNC -2.5, the under 49.5, Latifah, NC State getting it done. And then Alabama -28.5, big L. Like big, giant L that I'm holding there after laying 4 touchdowns and a hook. I already mentioned that while it was windy in Laramie, we did not cash that under. Liberty +9.5. And I know it was kind of a lower scoring game. Never really felt like I had a chance. Similar with UTEP +11.5. Love my 5 wins. Outside of Alabama, kind of knew what I was getting into with those other ones, but it's a 5-4 week, bringing me to 42-48, slowly chipping away. I'm trying to finish the season at a perfect 500. We'll see if I'll be able to do it, but it's a spray the board Saturday for your boy coming up. Danny, Tennessee +1, Nebraska +15 against Ohio State. Also getting in on North Carolina -2.5. The under 49.5 in Texas A&M Auburn. Also cashing the under 60 in Missouri Georgia. Tulsa +23.5. The losses were West Virginia +3.5, Washington +7, a lock fight loss to Bud over the total in Texas Iowa State. You had the over 60 in that one. Rutgers +13.5 against Wisconsin, right? Was that the 52?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not even close.
And then the over in Notre Dame Navy was a loss, but 6-5, and you are at that sweet spot, 45-45. You've achieved balance. -4.5 units with juice taken into consideration. Thoughts as we begin to turn our attention to week 11?
Feels good to be at 500 after a year kind of struggling to fight my way back. I feel like we're going to have ready for the home stretch, finally take this thing home. I'm most disappointed that my pole assassin play came up short, but congrats to Bud on that lock fight, and I'm ready to go.
The week winner at 6-4 and the season leader at 58-42. I mean, by the way, for the whole squad was above 500, 22-17, and for the season 201-78. So you pick and choose or spray the board. We're trying to give you some winners here as we compete against each other. But you got the Tennessee +1. NC State -2.5, the under 58.5 in Baylor TCU, the lock fight win in Texas Iowa State. Clemson Louisville over 46 is a winner. Kansas State Kansas under 56.5 is a winner. The losses being the bar fight loss, as you decided to take the over in the Service Academy instead of getting on with 39-9-1, which I guess is now 49-1. Over 53 in Louisiana Georgia State, the over 47 in Virginia Tech Boston College, and then the under 53.5 in Rice Charlotte. Thoughts on the week?
So some luck on my side and some bad luck on my side. I really don't think that the Army Air Force thing was bad luck. You know, if you do like hey, here's the total yardage, but that stuff happens in those games. And I don't think that I don't think the under was no doubt nuts the right side. Okay.
It was
All right.
1,000,000% the right side. It is always the right side in a Service Academy game.
It's a loss for me. Tom got me on that one. It was really annoying that Rice Charlotte went to overtime. Otherwise, I would have had that. But I got a nice gift in Baylor TCU, so that break kind of evened out there. We had the Dracovic stuff right, and then Burmeister gets hurt for Vatek, and they don't come close to scoring over 47 points. I'm like, damn it! You got to be kidding me. But overall, solid week.
Solid week indeed, gentlemen. Turning our attention to week 11. Y'all ready to lock it up?
Let's do it.
We're picking locks.
My Blue Plate special 5-star locks are coming.
Since 2005, when Service Academies
Come get these locks. 5-star master lock. Lock it up.
the under is 33-9-1. We've gone over it a million times.
You want these locks?
I'm living and dying every point, every cover.
So that means it's 6-0 since you first voiced the initial Service Academy under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a sure thing.
It's
I don't care
never
what the
gonna
numbers
lose.
say. It's a sure thing.
Okay, let's begin with the early birds for anybody who's listening to this game. One Thursday night game, but it's exciting. I mean, we got North Carolina coming off the win against Wake Forest, traveling up to the Big Mustard Bottle. Pitt, number 21 in the College Football Playoff Selection Committee rankings, favored by about 6.5 at home, over under at 73. Anybody got to play for Thursday night football in the ACC? I mean, just me?
I'll take one too. Go ahead. You lead it off.
Under. I think that this number is too high, and I'm not expecting the game to play out quite like North Carolina Wake Forest. And, it's just, while North Carolina overs have been a bag that I dip into over and over again because the defense will give up a lot of points, and also, offense especially with Sam Howell kind of becoming a big part of the ground game. Ty Chandler's put up a whole bunch of yards in recent weeks. You've always got the explosive potential of Josh Downs on the outside. I just see this game being played a little bit more conservatively on both sides. The approach to this game is not to avoid basketball on grass, but especially given the setting, especially given the short week, I think it's just a tad more methodical in terms of both teams. It might be a sweat because touchdowns can come really, really fast with both of these quarterbacks. But over the course of the game, I think this is just a little bit too high. And so I'm going to go under.
Lock it up.
All right. How many games? Oh, wrong one.
Oh.
A lot of the same reasons. I think when I don't know, I think I texted you guys the group when I was watching Sam Howell run all over the place. And I know they got Ty Chandler going. I'm like, man, he's taking a licking. He takes a lot of hits in this system running the ball as much as he does. I think Pitt will be better against the run, maybe force them to be a little bit more one-dimensional. I kind of want to lay the points and take the Pitt Panthers at home. But this almost has a feeling of a big game under type feel, like it is prime time. There's going to should be a pretty good atmosphere. I don't know exactly what that means for a game at Heinz Field on a Thursday night, but I think it'll be a pretty good atmosphere. And so I don't think it'll be this shootout that everybody's anticipating. I agree with you. I think it'll be a sweat towards the end, but it's just a little bit too much. And what's the number we're actually getting it at?
72.5.
Okay, I thought it was 73.5. But still, I'll still
dropping. We're moving lines here on the
moving
Cover
lines
3
out
podcast.
Yep.
It's actually, it's 71.5 at FanDuel right now. So it drops in places. So I don't know if there's some news coming that we don't
No,
maybe aren't privy to yet.
I think that everyone is listening to the Cover 3 podcast live on youtube.com/cover3 and unloading on this. I mean, like you said, Danny, a weeknight short rest. I mean, the idea that North Carolina is going to come right back around and play the exact same game that it played against Wake Forest, I think it seems a little bit of a stretch for me to feel comfortable with it.
My concerns about your under, like I took North Carolina +7 for the tip, but I don't love anything in this game tonight. It's the only game going. But, like when they've played good offenses, they've given up points. You know what I mean? They've dominated bad offenses, but when they played Tennessee, they gave up 34. Hell, Western Michigan put up 44 on them. Miami put up 30 or 38 on them. Even Duke last week put up 29 on them. This is a Pitt defense that I don't think has been nearly as good over the last month than it was early in the season.
And it's not true. And it's not the Pitt defense. Like there's no Jalen Twyman. Like there's no the rotation. Servassier Dennis, who plays a little bit of sort of like a linebacker type position for the Panthers, has been awesome. But this is not a Pitt defense that has multiple NFL players like some of the Pat Narduzzi groups that we've seen during his time with the Panthers. Okay, what about Friday night action? Cincy is going to be playing in Raymond James Stadium at USF. You've got Wyoming traveling to play Boise. Anybody got any Friday night plays?
I don't have any locks. I do like South Florida and the points just because the way Cincinnati's been playing lately, it's kind of difficult to trust them laying 23.5. And also South Florida the last few weeks is a team that is improving, like it's getting better. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if they put up a little bit feistiness as we've talked about. And then for the other game, again, not a lock, but over in Wyoming, Boise State.
I feel like that's a lot of confidence in Boise's offense.
Just sitting there at 48.5. Like if it's below 49, I feel like over is the place to be.
I'm gonna Danny,
I got locks in both. I want some action out there.
All right, let's go.
I think you're on the fence. I don't know if I could push you over. You have more discipline. The discipline, Danny's out the window too. No discipline whatsoever. I want action tonight. I want action tomorrow. And I want action all day. Cincinnati, what have we said the last 3 weeks? Man, they need to impress. They need to go ahead and impress the committee. And what have we seen every single week? They've kind of sputtered around in 2 of the games, Navy, and then this past weekend against Tulsa. They've almost lost these games. Like it hasn't even been close to the eye test, and it hasn't been even close to the cover too. South Florida's been pretty competitive. You mentioned the game last week against Houston. This team played BYU pretty tough. It was a pretty good team out there. So I think you're going to get South Florida's best shot in this one. And until Cincinnati, like I'm going to go ahead and keep saying, until Cincinnati shows me that they're this team that everybody wants them to be. And again, this is not a playoff take. This is a Cincinnati, what the reality is, they have not shown us the ability to impress and to blow us away with blowouts. And whether it matters or not to the playoffs is a different discussion. But until they do, this number's too big for me. So I'll go ahead and take the Bulls playing at home, maybe a little bit humid, playing in Florida. Maybe that could impact them as well. And then the late game, I'm going to go ahead. Oh, there we go.
So, yeah. Timmy McClain is the name that we want. All Dana Holgerson could talk about is the freshman quarterback who's dual threat, who ran around and gave a Houston defense and a Houston defensive line that I think is pretty good, absolute fits in the beginning of that game. Cincinnati has an awesome defense. And when it won against Notre Dame, its best win of the season, it really helped that when Jack Cohn was in there, that boy can't move around. And when that defensive line is going to have to chase around Timmy McClain throughout the entire game, I just think that USF is going to have just enough success to be able to stay inside this number. So I'm right there with you, Danny. I'm locking it up with the Bulls.
And then in the late game, I'm not going to touch the total. I'm going to go ahead and snag the Boise State Broncos, who have really been impressive throughout the season. I think they're significantly better than their record says they are. I mean, well documented, the 21-0, blown lead, the 1-point loss to Oklahoma State. They played Nevada pretty tough. They beat BYU. That was one of my picks. Losing to Air Force, I don't think there's any Like, that's not an egregious loss. And then coming off a really impressive win against Fresno State, Hank Bachmeier, one of the better quarterbacks in the country. I think Boise State's kind of looking to let out some frustration by people disrespecting them, saying, oh, this team's only 5-4. I think they're a significantly better team than that. So I'll go ahead and lay the 13.5. Is that what number I'm looking at?
Yep.
Perfect.
I played this 15.5, but I'm definitely not going to lock up. There's some 14 out there. I really don't want to lock that up at this point. Had a good email from one of our listeners. He explained to me that Boise got a good number of guys back on the offensive line, which really was a difference maker last week. And again, just a reminder, it's really important to pay attention to who's actually playing in college football. We almost overanalyze it in the NFL space, and in college, oftentimes it doesn't really get discussed. So thanks to that listener.
When you said the 15.5, that meant you were laying it.
No, I played Wyoming, and now I kind of regret doing so.
Yeah.
I mean, it moved in my favor, but I don't love it.
Is that with why does Boise State deserve to be favored by this many points?
Yeah, I mean, when you're firing on Sunday, I'm just trying to be a lot more correct than I am wrong, and I'm going to get some wrong. And I mean, I pay attention to injuries. I try to care about it, but you're not going to get every single injury diagnosed correctly. And that was one I just missed.
Turn in the page to Saturday. Some of the biggest games, Michigan on the road at Happy Valley. As I'm looking at it right now, I don't have the full board, so I don't know what our best numbers are, but 1.5 in favor of the Wolverines. Over under a 48.5. Anybody getting in on this Big Ten East showdown?
I am.
Me too. Go for it.
Give me Michigan -1. I think Penn State should be ranked this week based on the other teams that are ranked, but I also don't think Penn State is a great team. And I think that offensively, I've talked about it all year. They can't run the football, and they're going up against a Michigan team that has 2 terrific pass rushers and a strong pass rush overall. And there's no way in the world they could slow it down because Michigan doesn't have to worry about their run game. So they could just pin their ears back and go get Sean Clifford. And I think that is going to be a problem for the Penn State offense, as they've become a unit where it's pretty much everything is on Sean Clifford and Jahan Dotson right now. Unless those two are making plays, Penn State is not moving the ball consistently. And those two just aren't capable of doing it all by themselves, especially against good defenses like this Michigan defense that they'll be facing on Saturday. Meanwhile, Michigan, for a couple weeks there on the offensive side of the ball, they kind of struggled to run against both Wisconsin and Rutgers. But while they're not to the same 7.5 yards per carry clip they were in their non-con, they've improved a lot the last few weeks in the run game. And also it's coincided with their passing attack becoming much more of a viable, option for them. They've become much better balanced in offense. And I remember any Michigan team being under Harbaugh, probably maybe the entire tenure he's been there. I just think that offensively they look better than they have at any point in the recent, in their recent history. And I just think that they're a better team than Penn State. So even on the road in that environment, it is scary taking Jim Harbaugh as a road favorite, but I think it's the right play.
I'm going to I feel a little bit nervous about it because of all those nice platitudes that you said about the Michigan offense, but I'm going to take the under in this game. It feels, if we want to acknowledge that, Michigan's growth in the passing game is a credit to the quarterback play, the unit itself. Michigan State also has been revealed that is a little bit of a weakness defensively for the Spartans. And I've looked at that data point in a lot of a different light. And Penn State on the back end of its defense is pretty good. Like you said, it's all about Jahan Dotson hitting explosive plays, and the inability to run the ball has me feeling confident that Michigan wins at the line of scrimmage most downs when Michigan is on defense going up against Penn State offensively. I think that the scores will be there for Penn State because of the explosiveness and the possibility of Dotson, but I just don't think it's going to happen consistently enough. I think this one plays right into our hands for our perfect Big Ten expectations of a game that's decided in the high teens to mid 20s. So I will go with the under. Are there any 49s left?
Nope.
Okay, 48.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where we'll go. Let's lock up the Michigan-Penn State under.
If it helps, it is supposed to be cold and windy with possible rain.
Bud, you got any play? You're muted.
I do. I want to know if Chip might want to join me on this one. I am going to go to a first half play on this. We could have maybe a little snowflakes. I mean, I'm looking at kickoff temperature 38, precipitation 40%. I mean, I'm not a huge math guy, but it seems to me like that could be snowy, could be cold. You know,
Wait,
that's rain. That's rain.
Is precipitation percentage about the chances that it rains or the percentage of the coverage area that will receive rain?
It's precipitation.
Okay. Like,
so if it's below 32 or typically 35, it depends on, it depends on the air temperature up in the clouds, whether it's going to be snow or rain for the most part. Like it could be above freezing on the ground, but if it's cold enough up high, it'll be snow when it comes down.
But it's like, yeah, I think that when they say it's a 40% chance of precipitation, whether it is snow or rain, I think it has to do with, they're saying out of this area that we have determined, whether it's a zip code or a city or whatever, this percentage of the coverage area will receive rain, as opposed to, there is a 40% chance, like on the odds side of things. It's spotty, cold, rainy, wet, but I love it. I mean, it helps. It makes me feel more confident, but I like that.
I'm going for the first half, Chip. I'm going under 24 in the first half. Penn State is really good at preventing explosive plays. We saw that against Ohio State. I don't think you're going to give up explosive plays, at least not early, to Michigan. On the off chance this game gets out of hand and somebody has to start gambling a little more on defense, I think that's maybe when the explosives could come. I expect a tight, low-scoring first half in this ball game, so I'm going to play the under 24 in the first half.
It is supposed to snow here tomorrow night, which I'm very excited about.
I'll lock it up with Bud because I was going to go with Chip, and Bud sold me on the first half under, so I'll go ahead and do that. Like, it sounds good to me. It makes a lot of sense, and I do worry if the game goes one way or another that it brings that into play. I also have another play where I'm going to be fighting somebody. I have 3 reasons why I'm making this play. I'm going to go ahead and take Penn State. Give me Penn State.
Fight.
We've got a fight and we've got a lock agreement, me and Chip. So there are 3 reasons why I'm taking this play. 1, out of spite, because the committee has these teams both ranked incorrectly. The fact that Michigan is ranked 1 spot higher than they should be, and the fact that Penn State is not ranked is egregious. I swear, I think they just forgot that they were on the board. I think it just kind of slid under the radar. I do think that will irk some Penn State players for that reason. The other reason I'm going to take Penn State is Tom is way ahead of me. So I need to catch up and try to get him. So if I have an opportunity to do that, I'm going to go ahead and jump on it. And I don't think it's that crazy to take Penn State at home against the Michigan team where I'm still kind of looking at him. You mentioned Cade McNamara in this newfound passing game. It still kind of reverted back. I know we had 2 touchdown passes last weekend against Indiana, but it was very more game manager-esque. So that's one reason why I like Bud's play with the under in the first half. And then the third reason is I had 3 cups of coffee this morning. I am jacked up. So I am ready to go. I am just spraying the board all over the place. By the way, Brooklyn Water Bagels, shout out the coffee ice cubes, game changer in iced coffee.
3 cups of coffee.
Smart.
Danny might have to leave halfway through the show for a few minutes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I might have to.
Hey, you need that. Happy Veterans Day to all who do serve and who have served. It also means the kids are home, which means Danny needs the extra boost. He's not just dealing with us. The girls are in the house, so he's doing a lot right now at Chateau de Canal. Also in the noon slate, top 15 matchup. Oklahoma off last week, back in action, going up against Baylor. Bad loss to TCU, but you're back home at Waco with the chance to take down the Sooners and really put yourself into that Big 12 championship conversation. The Sooners are 5.5-point road favorites. Over or under sitting around 62. Who's got to play? Boomer, lay 'em. Big time alarm bells about Baylor's performance last week. The immediate exit of Joey McGuire, somebody who from a personnel and locker room standpoint, I'm not close enough to the program to say this confidently, so I say it recklessly. I'm going to say like that is somebody who has to do with your culture, the heartbeat of the locker room, like a real relationship. People sell me Joey McGuire like he's got these awesome interpersonal communication skills, like he's really good with everybody. And I just think before the end of the season, removal from the picture, I don't know. That's enough for me to think that the disruption, the loss to TCU, it's just not a time where I'm going to call for Baylor to pull off the upset. I don't think it's going to be a circle the wagons for Baylor. I don't think it's going to be a gut check Saturday for Baylor. I think Oklahoma comes in off the off week. Caleb Williams looks great against a very good defense. I don't think he's going to have a crazy statistical performance because that Baylor defense has my respect. And most quarterbacks going up against Baylor's defense that have played below their averages, except for Chandler Morris, who didn't have any averages. And I think Oklahoma wins this game by at least a touchdown. So I'll lay the points.
Lock agreement. I'm not really factoring the Joey McGuire part of it, but I don't hate it. I just think that Oklahoma coming off the bye, getting some extra time to maybe work out some of their issues on the defensive side of the ball, not fix them, but at least get some things figured out going against a Baylor team that is an offense that has actually been pretty effective, like vertically in the passing game, which is where you worry about Oklahoma's defense, but it's still an offense that runs the ball a lot and it sets up those deep shots with its run game. But Oklahoma's defense against the run has actually been pretty okay. So I think that they could, limit what they're able to do vertically a bit because of that. And I think that Oklahoma's the better team. I think last week against Baylor, like we kind of saw what I was talking about at TCU, like defensively, they can be gotten, like you said, Chip, they can be gotten defensively by a vertical passing attack. And we know Oklahoma is capable of doing that. So I just think this is kind of a bad matchup for the Bears. So I'm taking the Sooners.
I'm going to play the under here. Can I get a 62.5? See a couple of my thing.
Yeah.
All right. So I played this at 64. Dave Aranda against Lincoln Riley. I feel like Aranda had a good plan for him the last time these two met up in the Sugar Bowl. Also, we've been talking about for about a month here on this podcast about how Oklahoma is going to be getting some of these defensive backs back and how betting them in Oklahoma was not a good idea because they had a bunch of guys who I just saw play 7-on-7 down by Danny like this time last year, and they weren't really ready for Big 12 competition. I think they should have some of those guys back. I just think this total should be like 58, 59 and not 62.5. I agree with Tom there. I think they will probably try to limit the explosive plays through the air and see if Baylor's run game, which has been okay, can do them. I also note, like, yes, Baylor's defense got torched by TCU last week, which is problematic if you're betting it under. And they were up pretty big on BYU, right? Which is when BYU got a lot of their passing stats. They did an okay job against Brock Purdy, who's not explosive in any way. I just think this total is a little too high, so I'm going to play the under.
I'll tell you, I don't have a play in this one. My guy Dusty, who I do my radio show with, he lives in Norman. He waves every morning to Porter Moser, the basketball coach, every morning. His kids play with half the staff at the Oklahoma football team. He keeps telling me he thinks this is going to be the ramp up moment for Oklahoma, to kind of finish the season strong and start turning heads. So for what it's worth.
Also, Lincoln Riley off a bye just sounds like something I don't want to stand in front of, just on a schematic standpoint. I will offer some respect there to the offensive mind of Lincoln Riley and his quarterback who, hey, you got thrust into the spotlight and now you've had that off week to continue to put in work and to be able to, gel even more into your role.
Also, if you just got torched, what do you think you're likely to do? Double down and go more aggressive, or you think you're probably going to pull back a little bit and play a little more bend but don't break?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe force Oklahoma some field goals. That'd be great.
So let's that would be great for Bud. Now let's turn our attention to the Georgia at Tennessee, Neyland Stadium, Volney. Listen, we look at this game and we've had it circled, because we said the one thing that we haven't really seen is Georgia's defense be tested by an explosive passing attack. And we said November 13th on the road, is Hendon Hooker and this Tennessee passing attack going to be able to, expose anything? Well, if it happens, I don't think the odds makers are seeing it in a major way. Georgia is a 20-point road favorite, over under sitting right there on the 8-touchdown number of 56. Anybody got to play in this Georgia-Tennessee game, which you can see on CBS, the America's Most Watched Network, the Network of Stars, CBSSports.com, where you can stream it for free, or in the CBS app. If you're watching on the streaming, catch me on the Danny, you doing pregame here? I know we're all on it. Yeah. Pregame, halftime, postgame, all that coverage will be coming from your friends right here. So anybody got to play on Georgia, Tennessee?
I just think this number's dead on, man. Oh, sorry. Danny, if you
I'll go ahead and take one. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the over 56. That's the best number I can get.
Let me see what I could find you here.
Danny, we can't go 4 ACC boys before the 30-minute mark.
Are you thinking about it? Are you thinking about it?
It is sitting here.
56 is the best I
It's
can
on
find.
the card. Like the Georgia Tennessee over is on the card. Whatever. I can't back down. Yeah, I'm in it. Go.
Let's go. ACC boys. I think I cannot wait to see this Tennessee offense versus this Georgia defense. I don't think you'll see much. I think you'll see Georgia be able to impose their will somewhat against this Tennessee defense. But I also think there are some ways to potentially neutralize, not even neutralize, because they're still dominant, they're still good, but to put up some points against. And this was the case 7 or 8 years ago against Alabama's dominant defense. I think there are two things that you can kind of help you have some success against Georgia, and it's tempo and it's mobile quarterback. And Tennessee does both of those things. So I think being able to go a little bit more aggressively, keeping them on their heels somewhat, you can at least dictate some of the looks, will be a little bit more bland. And I know defenses are a little bit more adept at adapting to that. Adam Anderson out again. I think Tennessee, I think Josh Heupel, this could be a moment for them where they have some success against this one. See like a 41 or 42-21 type of game somewhere in there where, and maybe if it's even late, but I think for Heupel, like the importance of getting some points late in this game, just to kind of show some offensive prowess against this defense, I think would be massive. So I'm going to take the over.
I'm also going to be taking the over. 42-14 would be the gets us right there to a push. No team has scored more than 13 points against this Georgia defense. I think that Tennessee is going to be able to do it. But I also think that this is looking at the matchup and thinking that if Georgia's defense does come out and maybe someone's lit a fire under their ass and they're like, we're going to keep them out of the end zone. You know, I like, Danny, you speaking to that mentality of the really dominant defenses and what happens late in the season in terms of really giving them an edge. Well, in that case, with the up-tempo attack that Tennessee's going to have, that means the possessions are going to be short, and this Tennessee's defense is going to get really, really worn out. Like, Georgia could get to 50 if Tennessee's offense is totally inept. And I think that that's what has me feeling like the over is the play here.
Curious. Bud hates it. You going to go the other way?
No, but I did think about going under. Tennessee has injuries to its running backs, and against a team that can bring as many exotics as Georgia can, that scares me to have inexperienced, backs in there picking up the blitz. Tennessee is also like an extreme bend but don't break defense, right? They're like 90th in efficiency, but 20th in explosive plays allowed. So, we kind of saw them do that same thing to Ole Miss, and they gave up. I mean, they still lost the game. I don't hate it. I'm not going to play the under. I feel like I've been locked in on Tennessee this year, except for the opening game. The two teams that they've played that are Georgia's caliber, Georgia's better than these teams, but like the two teams that have athletes are Florida, who they lost to by 24 and only scored 14 against, and Bama, who they only scored 24 against, but they gave up 52. So Georgia can get there. I'm just going to pass on this.
Also in the 3:30 slate, we've got Purdue going to Columbus to take on Ohio State. The Buckeyes, 21-point favorites, and over-under of 62.5. Anybody got thoughts on the spoiler makers in their encore performance?
I got a lock.
Let's go for it.
Give me Purdue plus 21. I don't trust Ohio State to cover a 3-touchdown spread right now. I think that defensively, they still have problems that sometimes haven't been able to be exposed by some teams. And I think Nebraska, as well as Nebraska played overall defensively, offensively, it was not a team built to exploit where Ohio State's problems is. I think with David Bell, Purdue can exploit it. Not to the extent where I think the Boilermakers are going to go pull off another top 5 upset and, completely destroy the Big Ten's playoff hopes in a way. But I think they can score enough points on this team to hang. And I also think offensively, Ohio State, we've talked about it. It's been a big topic. They struggle in the red zone. They struggle finishing drives. They're too pass happy inside the 20. They don't run it nearly enough. Maybe they changed that this week against Purdue, but this is also a really good Purdue defense. And we saw last week they struggled against a good Nebraska defense. Purdue's defense is better. It's got better pass rush. It's got, I think, a little better talent at a couple key spots. And I think they're going to give this Buckeyes team some trouble. Now, the difference, of course, is last week Ohio State was on the road. This week they're back at home. So the environment won't be as hostile. It's just, I don't think Ohio State's going to lose this game. I don't think they're ever really going to be a situation where it's in the second half and we're like, oh my God, is Ohio State going to lose? Is Purdue going to pull this off? But I don't think they're blowing the doors off Purdue by any stretch. I think this is going to be a 10 to 14 point game, not a 21-point game.
I've given incredibly biased and preferential treatment to Florida State all week. I can only continue. And while there are some evening games, which have top 25 teams and have some interesting opportunities to drop locks and break down, which I hope we will get to in a little bit, our last featured game before the break, it is the renewal of the rivalry at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. We've got Miami and Florida State. The Canes are 2.5-point road favorite in Tallahassee. Over under of 61. Anybody gonna take a lock? Yes.
Miami. Florida State's defense is bad at giving up explosive plays. Miami is underpriced here because of all the turnovers they had last week. If that result against Georgia Tech had indicated at all, had the two teams move the ball, this would be 3.5 or 4. At 2.5, I think you got to play Miami. Tyler Van Dyke, like I basically took my numbers and looked at like the offenses since he's been inserted, and they have the number 3 offense in the country in that period. This is the best offense FSU's seen all year, including Wake, with Van Dyke in there. So
Bud Arnold out here.
I also played the over in this, but it's moved a little bit. I don't think Miami team total, especially if you can find a 31, is a bad play either. I have this 35-30.
Oh, I need to catch Bud too. So give me the Seminoles. Plus, I can back my guys. I'll go ahead and take it. I think you'll get the best version of Florida State. I do think they still showed a tremendous amount of fight against NC State. It's hard to even pick a way to do it because I agree with all the ways that you just spotted it, and watching Devin Leary torch that defense for 4 touchdowns and other quarterbacks throughout the year. I'm just hoping that Florida State gets healthy in this spot. Maybe you see a version of Tyler Van Dyke in his first time in this game, which is different than anything else. You'll see that maybe come back to reality a little bit. So give me the Noles here.
The one thing that really scares me about taking Miami here is that Miami is dead last in tackling in the nation. And they are also like 115th or 120th or something in explosive runs allowed, which is the only thing FSU does worth the damn on offense when Jordan Travis plays. And I do expect Jordan to play this week. So if that's how FSU wins, I can totally see it.
Do you feel do you pay, like what percentage do you pay attention to the public side of it? There's everybody in there, brother. You don't look at it at all.
No, and I also I don't look at like who's
coming in on Miami are like 90 in the 90 percentile in both the percentage of bets and the percentage of money.
And it's not moving.
It's not moving.
Ooh, I think it's because you've got a like you don't have the true you go figure it out odds makers move, but you definitely have the like who feels confident about this game. The varying levels of performance from both these teams, not to mention the rivalry factor. I don't have a lock, but I'm very excited for it. I'm glad that you all have a lock fight so that we can be talking about it on the chat.
Shout out Mason Gilbert, who just said, is FSU going to beat Miami and Florida and get Mullen and Diaz both fired? Because that might happen if they actually were able to pull this off, which would be insane.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Comment from our guy Mason.
Coming up on the other side, we opened up the board. All of Saturday's Week 11 action is available as we continue to roll out our locks. Next.
Welcome to the Challenge All-Stars.
The competition is going to get nasty.
I am back for redemption.
The Challenge All-Stars, now streaming exclusively on Paramount+.
It would be hilarious That's what people in the chat are pointing out, that if Mike Norvell is just a coach killer through the state, that would be something else. Okay, let's open up. The entire board is available. Actually, let's go ahead and review for those who wanted to jump in and who are watching on youtube.com/cover3. Tom's got 3 locks on the board. He's got Michigan -1, Oklahoma -5.5, Purdue +21. That is a lock fight with Danny on Michigan-Penn State, and a lock agreement with Chip on Oklahoma -5.5. I'm also on the under 48.5 in Michigan-Penn State. And then the triple ACC boys lock agreement is USF +23.5, the over 56 in Georgia, Tennessee, and the under 72.5 in North Carolina, Pitt. Danny has those 3 plus the lock fight with Tom on Michigan-Penn State. The first half under 24 in Michigan-Penn State. That's a lock agreement with Bud. Then a lock fight with Bud on Florida State, Miami. Danny cashing a 3, Bud laying a 2.5. So Bud's got the Oklahoma-Baylor under 62.5, the first half under 24 in Michigan-Penn State, and Miami -2.5. All right. Full, everything's available. I'm going to say Tom or Bud. Why don't you go ahead and jump in here and throw something on the board?
Go ahead, Tom.
All right. ACC boys, I'll go to your world. I am taking Boston College +2 against Georgia Tech, because what in the world has Georgia Tech done to deserve to be favored over anybody at this point? We kind of talked about it on Wednesday with the mailbag pod about how, like, the question asking about, what signs could we see, and they're Georgia Tech, like, what are our thoughts with Jeff Collins in that program? And I don't think Georgia Tech's bad. It's just, we talked, like, Phil Yurkovich is back. Boston College is a much better team with him at quarterback than it is without him. So it's like, you look at all the numbers from Boston College this year, and you could throw most of them out because Yurkovich wasn't playing for any of those games. But I think that the line here hasn't really caught on to that, and they're using what Boston College's performance had been without him. I think last week, his first game back, he didn't look great. He was rusty, but again, it is first time playing in like 2 months. I think going into with a full week of practice, preparing for an opponent, knowing he's going to be starting, I think we're going to see a much better version of the Boston College offense this week. So give me the Eagles +2. They should not be the underdogs in this matchup.
Man, I hope that you're right on that. I played the over. I think this came out 48. I was like, absolutely, all day. Georgia Tech plays nothing but crazy games. But Yurkovich wasn't actually good last week, though, I don't think. But it's hard for me to tell, like, is he still dinged? Is he damaged goods? Or did BC just run the heck out of the ball once Burmeister went out on the first drive? You know what I mean? So it was hard for me to get a true eval out of that. He was certainly favoring that hand when he went down. If you watched it, he would, like, go out of his way to fall on his non-throwing side, even more than a quarterback normally does.
While they definitely shifted their approach once the leverage in the game had been established, I did feel like I saw him come up with a couple first down throws that you were not going to see Dennis Grosel make.
I mean, he's even at 70%, he is considerably better than Grosel.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, Bud.
All right, let's go ahead and go. I'm going to go really sicko mode here. I'm going to go Tulsa, Tulane, over 55. I know Tulane's had some quarterback issues. Tulsa is not really great on offense, and yet I feel like both these teams can get it done and score a good number of points. This has gone against me, and I still like it. I played over 56.5 earlier in the week. I just think this game will be in the 60s. Tulane plays crazy pants games.
They do.
Fight.
Wow. Sicko mode fight.
I'm on the under. I don't think Tulane's offense has been very good. I think that it is very inefficient. And I don't know how many. I think this is a Tulsa defense that is pretty decent, but also offensively, I don't really think Tulsa's that good either. And plus, finally, the true deciding factor here is it's a wonder. There are 13 to 15 mile per hour winds. Special teams are going to be impacted. Tulane and Tulsa can't really throw the ball to begin with, so now they're going to have to be throwing the ball into the wind. That's not going to be very helpful to them. So I'm taking the under 55.5. We will fight this one out on the field, sir.
That's it.
To find out what happens when the fifth best American Athletic Conference team takes on the ninth best American Athletic Conference team with wind blowing. Oh, so excited.
We could definitely tell you what happens when we bring this up on the show. Our live viewers go like completely like, oh yeah,
oh
we're
no,
out.
The chat loves it. The chat loves the sicko mode fight. They got as excited as we did about such things. Danny, do you want take us somewhere, wherever you want to go?
I will go to the Big 12, where TCU is coming off a big win, inserting Chandler Morris in the lineup 1 week after Gary Patterson is fired, and they go out and shock the world with that performance. They did rush the field, right? Didn't they rush the field? I want to say they did. If not, maybe it was a different game I saw.
They should have.
Yeah, right. Now they go to Stillwater against the Oklahoma State team that I could not have been more wrong about last week. But they showed me something. If I ask, like, what team do you feel better about right now? Like, is TCU going to be able to rekindle that magic on the road? Or is Mike Gundy's defense actually built to travel and maybe one of the more impressive defenses, not only in the Big 12, but in the country? I will say, give me Oklahoma State and the Cowboys at home, laying that 13 and a half.
Danny, I love you. I can get you at 12 and a half.
Even better. Give me the Pokes laying the 12 and a half at home against TCU. I think that was more of a one game kind of capture, lightning in a bottle. And I think it spoke more about where Baylor we were really excited on them. We should be excited about the future, but they weren't ready for that moment. I think Oklahoma State is kind of getting better when they need to be, which is really going to be fun, setting up for what should be a fun matchup for a Bedlam and possible Big 12 championship game. So give me Mike Gundy's squad with that run game, Spencer Sanders, and that defense against TCU.
I have a play for this one as well. It is not on the spread. I am taking the over 54 and a half in this one. I just think that the number's a little too low. I think there's value to be found on the over side of this thing. I think that TCU's offense, it was impressive last week. I think that Oklahoma State has a lot less tape to work with based on what they saw last week from what we saw for TCU for most of the season. That could impact their defensive preparation for it. And I just kind of feel like matchup-wise, this is a TCU defense that I think the Cowboys are going to be able to move the ball against, which I think plays well to your play, Danny. I think the Cowboys are going to be a little more explosive on offense this week than we've grown accustomed to them seeing. And I think I'd rather be on the over than the spread. So that's where I'm going.
Wow. I respect it. Oklahoma State, they've got that little flag, like under team, but it's a different matchup. TCU's a little bit of a wild card. So I like where you're going there. I want to go ahead and jump on this. We've had a lot of conversation. Bronco Mendenhall, bless his heart. I mean, he is just like all in on I'm going to tell you as little as possible about all of my personnel situations, who's going to be starting, who's hurt, how hurt are they? And this injury for starting quarterback Brennan Armstrong, who leads the nation in total offense yards per game, happened against BYU near the end of the game. Backups came in. We got a redshirt freshman and a freshman who are currently listed as co-starters. Bronco says he is planning to play with Brennan Armstrong in the lineup, but it will come down to how he feels, whether he can throw the ball comfortably and whether he can get out there and give it a go. I don't think it matters to my pick. I think if Brennan Armstrong plays, then it's probably a little bit more of a sweat. But Virginia's been a very good over team because that defense simply has not been very good. And as Kyron Williams continues to explode as the rightly featured offensive weapon within this Fighting Irish offense over the middle part of the season, Notre Dame has won 37 straight games as a favorite and has won 39 straight games against unranked opponents. Notre Dame can win this game by a touchdown. And if Brennan Armstrong does not play, which I think that, we're all like betting here, I would bet that there's a decent chance that he might not play. And even if he does play, we're talking about the potential of any kind of re-injury or getting knocked out of the game. Isaiah Foskey is one of the best defensive linemen that Notre Dame's got, and he could come barreling down and cause all kinds of problems for Armstrong. Let's go ahead and lay the number. Notre Dame wins this game by a touchdown or more.
So, thought exercise first.
Okay.
Does this number, in you guys' opinion, like, do you think this number includes Armstrong or it excludes Armstrong?
That's the $1 million question. I've been trying to figure that out too.
Because I think this number includes Armstrong. Personally, like
So
when I pulled Armstrong out of my power ratings, all of a sudden it became 9.4. And for that reason, like, so here's the thing. If he's announced in, what does this line do? Maybe it goes to 4. I'll play back some of my
drop below 3.5 or 3.
Right. So I'll play back some of it. I'll end up with, Notre Dame minus 5, 5.5. I'll have Virginia plus 4. I'll risk a Polish middle, whatever. That's not a key number. That's a term anyway, where you it may end up losing both bets. It's not a true middle. Lock agreement. Give me that 5.5 Notre Dame. Virginia's run defense is beyond terrible. All right. 112th in success rate allowed, 125th in explosiveness runs allowed, which is that's what I want to see in this game from them. 117th in rushing efficiency allowed. They're not quite as bad at stopping short yardage runs, but if Notre Dame gets up, I feel like they can salt the game away running the football.
A Polish middle.
Yeah. Are we allowed to say that in 2021?
I think we can say that. Is that offensive?
I don't know. It might be.
Hey, like what is it? In comedy, the terms are set when you walk into the club, right? And when we are talking about gambling and betting, if that is the term as it stands, then
inverted middle is apparently the more PC term there. I apologize. I never heard. I just Googled Polish middle, and then I got suggested inverse middle or inverted middle.
What's popping off on the deep dark pro group chats?
Well, let's go to the arm barn, and I'll step in here and give my take. So the only thing that makes me nervous in this game, because I was looking up the backup, Jay Woolfork, who was a 2-sport athlete, true freshman, won the backup job. Like, is he going to come in there and sling it around? Because I think that's the only way that Virginia hangs in this game, and covers, is if they score a ton of points. Because they've given up points to everybody. The only thing that makes me nervous, rib injury. Like, is this a pain tolerance issue where, how does Brennan Armstrong feel? And part of that conversation is, do you want to get shot up? And then it kind of makes me nervous if that's an option. And I don't know. I'm just kind of talking about what conversation that I have had in those situations. I was one who would have said, just if I can't hurt it worse, give me the shot. I won't feel it for a few hours, and I might hurt like a bitch the next day, but I'm going to be, at least I can play in this game. I don't know if it's that type of rib injury or it's something that could be more serious. I just don't know, because that makes me a little bit nervous that Brennan Armstrong plays the role of hero and says, yep, give me the shot. I want to play. It's prime time, ABC. And then it's sort of one of those rally the troops situation. But even then, still could impact his performance. So I think you guys on the right side. I don't know. Just something about this game feels a little bit iffy, because I think it's obvious. Go ahead and lay the points with Notre Dame. I'm can this not be baked in? Can this, is Brennan Armstrong not playing and that possibility just not be baked in already? I don't know. Something about it just kind of scares me off.
I think that, like Bud said, I just go to the other matchup. Notre Dame's offense and Kyron Williams against Virginia's defense. I think the Fighting Irish will be able to score. Also, Virginia has a slim chance, but still a chance to win the ACC Coastal. And with Pitt coming up, I think next week, of the 3 games that are left, you got this Notre Dame game, then Pitt and Virginia Tech are the last 2. If Virginia's going to win the ACC Coastal, would you rather have Brennan Armstrong for the closers against Pitt and Virginia Tech? Might also be part of the calculus. I don't know. We are talking about a team that smashes rocks in the locker room. So if it is a pain tolerance thing, Danny, I think he might be out there. But again, you'd be betting on the potential of whether or not he's
how many teams smash rocks. I think Mike Norvell's Florida State Seminole squad smash rocks, right?
Doesn't Vatek do it as well?
I think they might do it too. Well, do they smash the rocks? Yeah, I think they do.
Whole lot of rock smashing going on.
Yeah.
Hokie Stone. And then, of course, the famous Eastern Michigan, when you came out to run through the all the cement and they wouldn't quite knock down. They were going to be running out of the tunnel and hammered away the cement blocks, but didn't end up
run around it.
Yeah. All right.
Can I get another play in this game?
Yeah, absolutely.
Under 31.5 first half. Avery Davis is their slot receiver for Notre Dame. He is now out for the year. That suggests to me they will use more multiple tight end formations and will look to run the ball even more. have to imagine whether or not Armstrong plays, Notre Dame is going to try to want to limit Virginia's explosive plays, given that it doesn't have the ability to probably be all that explosive through the air itself with yet another receiver down for them. So under 31.5 first half. There is some 33.5 out there, or at least one, but that's an offshore. So I'll go with the more consensus number.
Tom, where do you want to go?
I'll get this one. South Carolina +1 at Mizzou. I think Beamer Ball is going to get bowl eligible on Saturday. We kind of touched it a little bit yesterday when we were playing bowl or no bowl, but it boils down to something pretty simple for me. It is that Missouri's defense is terrible. Like, this is a defense that ranks 127th nationally in success rate. It ranks 127th nationally in points allowed per possession. It ranks 127th nationally in defensive EPA. Where it's better is that opponents have scored on 48.1% of their possessions against this Missouri defense. That ranks 126th. So you look at this team, and whether you're looking at the traditional stats or advanced stats or whatever, any kind of stat you want about defense, they all tell you the same thing. Missouri can't stop anybody. And if a team can't stop anybody, I sure as hell am not going to trust it as a favorite. So give me the Gamecocks +1 point.
I'm not going to fight you.
I mean, would that only just be for fun? Like, just on the
I will say, like, Missouri showed me some things yet last game defensively. They stifled Georgia's inside run game much more than I thought they would. Georgia actually had to adjust a little bit. Like, they came out, they gave them some difficulty. They had to run a little more of that crack toss stuff on the outside. I think they had to start throwing the ball more than they probably had planned to get their lead. South Carolina can't throw the ball. So if Missouri's run defense is at all improved from getting healthier, I think they're live in this game, but I'm not locking it up. I really just want anybody +3 or better here, which I'm not going to get.
Hold on. I'll go ahead and take Mizzou. I'm catching our guy, Tom. Let's go. I'm making some big inroads on Tom. Playing at home could be a little chillier. I haven't Connor Bazelak's back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like it even better. I think that game was a little bit like deceiving, the whole Florida win, and it was a big win for Shane Beamer and the program, but I'm gonna go ahead and take Mizzou. Tyler Beatty's gonna run all over South Carolina. Let's go. And it's for our guy Eli Drinkwitz. Like, this could be a must-win game for him, or else we may not see him on the sidelines anymore.
But we tackled both South Carolina and Missouri in bowl or no bowl. They're both sitting there. This is a massive game. And just like we are taking you to the biggest games between the 6th and 8th place teams in the American Athletic Conference, we are tackling the 6th and 7th best teams in the SEC East as well. Just really making sure that we're well-rounded here. Bud, you used a term earlier. I believe it was for Tulsa Tulane, where you're thinking about a crazy pants game. And I immediately, not because of the designs of the pants, but I immediately thought that would apply to my next play, where I am going back and reviewing Michigan State's defense. And I'm seeing how both Michigan and Purdue were able to move the ball through the air. And I'm looking at the next opponent, Maryland, and I'm thinking about what Maryland is able to do well. It doesn't matter whether you lose your first, second, or third wide receiver. Like, dadgummit, the Terps are still going to sling that ball, and they're still going to find ways to hit explosive plays through the passing game. So Michigan State, Kenneth Walker III, I think that this Spartans team is still going to hit explosive plays against the Terps defense, and I think that Maryland is going to be able to move the ball. I can't have the red zone failures that we have had at times with Maryland. That is my bet. I am extending confidence that this Maryland team that has struggled to finish drives will find ways to finish drives against Michigan State, but I will take the over, the best number I can get it, in Michigan State, Maryland.
Good luck.
What is the best number you can get there?
60.5.
I'm going to be disciplined. I've already bet this under 63 and under 62.5. It's going to be windy. Maryland still doesn't have its two explosive weapons in DeMoss and Jason Jones. Since those guys have been out, they don't hit explosive plays on anybody. But my last number to bet is 61.5. So I'm going to pass. Well, no, I do see a 61.5 out there. There are two of them, South Point and Chris. Can I get the under 61.5?
Yeah.
All right, let's fight.
Fight.
I'm being a bad influence on everybody today.
You got the Terps helmet up there.
Yeah.
Come on. Take the Terps. Terps. All right.
I'll take the Terps getting 13. That's my number.
Well, yeah.
Let's go. 130th pass defense in the country. Leah Tagovailoa, he's going to be slicing and dicing them. Let's go. Give me the Terps. You're right. I forgot about the helmet. That was
just firing.
That was Scott Van Pelt's parting gift to me when I got fired from ESPN, whether he knows it or not.
We have talked about that late night clean out.
Yeah. He just found out because I did Russillo's podcast the other day and it was up there. And Russillo saw the LSU helmet, which I stole from him. And he pointed it out. So there's some bad blood out there. Van Pelt's going to be upset. But now I'm back in his Terps. Let's go.
I will say, Chip, I worry for you because you talked about Maryland's, red zone struggles. Do you know which defense is 10th in the nation as far as red zone efficiency?
Michigan State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, 12, 13 mile an hour winds here, Tom?
Yeah, it's going to be windy.
Not super windy, but
no.
14 to 17 is when we really start doing the alarms. Okay, I've got two left.
I have 3.
All right.
How many you got?
Like 6.
All right, you go.
Fire away.
All right. Rapid fire. Rutgers +7.
Indiana should not be favored.
I don't care if the quarterbacks are back. They're not any good anyway.
Yeah.
This is the type of game I want to back Rutgers in. Just play a defensive game, lower scoring, maybe. Like the total's too low to bet the under, I think. But give me that +7 there with Rutgers. Okay. Up next, I'm just going to fire off a whole bunch of Big 12 unders right in a row. Give me Kansas, Texas under 62.5. Jordan Moore, the receiver who had words at practice, entered the transfer portal. So again, kind of the same logic that I've been betting and winning with Texas unders the last couple of weeks. I don't think they're going to score that much, and I don't think Kansas is going to score all that much either. Did I already hit the? We already did Oklahoma-Baylor under, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one I have is Iowa State, Texas Tech. Played this under 59 and under 59.5. I still like it at 58.5, which is that right now. That is going to be a windy game. Have you guys seen that there? My numbers liked it before that came out, but I'm showing 16 mile an hour winds.
Yep.
In Lubbock. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So another under there. Basically want to bet the entire board of the Big 12 under.
And you have all season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My numbers don't think these offenses are as good as like the Big 12 narrative has it. We already took Notre Dame. Give me Washington State +14.
Another one? Oh, yeah.
Tom?
No.
Okay.
+14.
Yeah.
Are you you
guys going to explain it, or are we just going to let Latifah do
Yeah,
all
I
the
think
talking?
Washington State's been playing pretty good, and I don't trust Oregon against anybody. It's like a 2-touchdown favorite. Like they just have not been blowing out teams, and Jaden Delore has been playing pretty well. This team has actually kept it together pretty nicely since Nick Rolovich was fired. So I think this, again, like once you have that 3 in front of your name, you get everybody's best shot, including Washington State. So until I see Oregon like start to really impress, 2 touchdowns too much for me.
And what is the common complaint from Oregon fans who love Mario Cristobal and what he's done for the program, especially on the recruiting trail? He's made some pretty good hires. We've got some exceptions that we may take from time to time, but Joe Moorhead certainly, I say, plus value coaching decision in terms of bringing him in to lead the offense. But I think the word conservative, it gets thrown around a lot when you're a little bit, just trying to milk this game away. We're just trying to win by 1 point. We just want to get to the finish line. It is not a super aggressive, blow you out type team. It is a team that I think is worthy of being right here in the mix of the college football playoff and the national championship conversation in mid-November. But the style and the way that Oregon executes, I think this is too many daggone points given the spot.
I agree with that. Give me Houston Temple under 54.5. It's close to the last number I want to bet that. I already have under 57 and under 55 there.
Hey, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is that like built into the Temple quit factor?
Yeah. Also, probably not very nice weather up there. I don't know how much Houston wants to be chucking the ball around a ton. Dwan Mathis got hurt last game. I made this number 49. So I may just be way off on this, but it's still bettable for me, which is basically just how I do the lock spot. I'm like, all right, what do I still like? And, hit it. Let me see what else here.
I've got a play on that game.
You do? Sorry, Tom.
Yes. Houston minus 24.5. And it's very much what Chip just mentioned. Like, this is a Temple team that is just done. Like, their last 4 games, they have been outscored 180-27. In those 4 games, they're allowing 3.67 points per drive. They've let opponents score on 57% of their possessions. And offensively, they're managing 0.61 points per drive. Like, this is a Temple team that is done. It's just checked out. Houston is not ranked. Houston is playing for an AAC title. Houston is looking to impress somebody. A 45-3 win might turn somebody's head. Maybe get them a 24 in the rankings next week.
Ooh, I can see that. I just hope they don't pile it on too much, obviously, for my shot. All right. Close to the last one here. UCF SMU over 60. UCF's defense is beaten up on some bad offenses of late, including Tulane and Temple. Memphis was missing its quarterback when it played UCF, and it was kind of on short notice. They had to play Peter Parrish, who's a runner. When you look at who UCF has played when they've played good offenses, and I would consider Memphis a good offense with Hennigan, but again, he didn't play. Cincinnati dropped 56 on that ass, right? Navy put up 34 on him. Navy's not great. Louisville put up 42. Boise State put up 31. I just think SMU can score 40, and I think, I really think that UCF can score like 31, 35-ish.
67 minutes of podcast, and no one has expressed any confidence in 2 games, which are between ranked teams. Number 11, Texas A&M at number 15, Ole Miss. Texas A&M favored by 2.5, over under a 56.5. And in Winston-Salem, we are going through the teller line at Truist Field. Number 16, NC State, trying to make a withdrawal of a win against number 2, Wake Forest. Wake a 2-point favorite, over under of 66.5. Even if there are no locks. Oh yeah, we
have a dentist play.
You got to get the dentist in here. But even
dentist
if there are
now
no
is
locks,
5-4 on the year.
I want to make sure we mention these games.
All right, dentist. What the hell is a dentist from? Okay, I found it.
It's 5-4. Yep,
5-4. Plus the one I forgot to read on the show, which did win. I'm sure he'll remind us of that if we see him in person. I haven't seen enough positive injury news to believe Ole Miss is going to be much different this week than the last 2 weeks. Too many cluster injuries on offense versus a good defense. This line is surprisingly low to me, so that is my biggest caution. But I'll take A&M minus 2.5 for the lock.
I
don't hate it.
Agree with that. Yeah, like
I played it at 2. I just don't like it quite as much at 2.5 to like lock it up.
I wouldn't hate the under there as well, but none of these are super confident plays, so definitely not a lock. In the NC State Wake Forest game, if I would fall back on, shout out to Hakeem Dermish, trend is your friend, but Wake's won 10 out of the last 12 in Winston-Salem, including 8 out of the last 9. NC State has shown incredible resilience to set up this opportunity that the Wolfpack had been staring down ever since they beat Clemson. Like, just be able to get to that Wake game with the chance to win it and move into the driver's seat of the ACC Atlantic. Wake Forest's roster, since they're all 28 and 29-year-olds, they already know all the coaching cliches. They were in the locker room in Chapel Hill saying, we can't let UNC beat us twice. Next week we got to turn the page, this out of the other. Again, a lot of maturity, which is what I would expect from 6th and 7th year seniors that the Demon Deacons are just loaded up with. I think this game could go either way. It's interesting that Devin Leary has played so well. I think NC State needs its running backs to win this game because Wake's a little bit porous defending against the run, and NC State's got a good offensive line. I don't know, man. I would lean on the Wake Forest -2 only with the the long trends of the way that series has gone. And so many of those Wake Forest wins, probably 4 to 5, come to mind in that 12-year run where NC State was the better team. NC State had more talented players, and yet Wake found a way to win that home game. But I think that this is not a more talented team type example. I think these are two very, very good teams, and I have no clue how it's going to end. Probably with someone doing something dumb. And look, last week it was Sam Hartman. Got their 2 picks coming down the stretch. It decided the game. A 3-point game. Those 2 interceptions were everything. So who does not make a mistake? Devin Leary's done a good job of taking care of the ball. Sam Hartman normally does a good job of taking care of the ball. I'm very excited to watch it, but absolutely no strong feels on the locks.
I played NC State, Chip. I got it 3 and 2.5, and I just don't. This scares me. This hasn't moved back towards me more, and I think the thing that I'm missing in my power numbers is style. Mississippi State threw the ball all over NC State, and that's back when they were healthy. And I think if you look at it, while Miami is an explosive passing team, isn't Wake Forest the most precise passing team they have faced since Mike Leach's air raid team?
Undoubtedly.
Yeah, that scares me here, so I'm not going to lock it up.
Honestly, I think had Wake won last week, I'd probably be all over NC State this week, but I got nothing for this one.
If Wake had won, the number's what, 4?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Follow the rhythms of the season. Absolutely love it. I got one more. I'll go ahead and get it out and then get out of the way until Moneyline Sprinkles. Iowa, Minnesota under. You're going to throw a 37 on the board and not tempt me to go under? I mean, this is a Service Academy kind of number because, as Tom has mentioned, with Minnesota's commitment to running the football, it might as well be a Service Academy team. And with the way that Iowa takes care of business, well, that exactly sets up our good under team against good under team. Doesn't matter the number. I will go under. So is 37 still out there, or am I going to have to sweat 36.5?
I got you 37.5.
Okay.
Trending in the wrong direction. Uh-oh. Here comes the Gophers offense.
All the normies, they're like, someone will get to 20, and I will go, aha, will they? So yeah, give me that under.
I don't hate it. I'm not on it.
All right, I'm all tapped out. Who else has still got something left?
I've got 2 left.
All right.
First, I'll go with an under. I've only got 1 on the board so far. I'm going to take the Mississippi State Auburn under 50. Just not a ton of explanation for it. Just think it's a little too high. So I'm going that direction. And then for my final one, another over, which I have the same number of overs this week as I do unders. I don't know if that's ever happened on the show before, but I'm taking the over 40.5 in Wisconsin and Northwestern, simply because, as Danny learned last week when he took Rutgers against the Badgers, Wisconsin is back in bum slayer mode. They are just running over bad teams and doing what they do to them. And it's not like they could call off the dogs because they don't throw the ball to begin with. So once they get up and they just keep running the ball, if your defense can't stop them, they're going to keep running for more touchdowns. Northwestern's defense is terrible. I look at 40.5. I think Wisconsin could get there on its own. Instead, I'll maybe trust Northwestern to score 3, 6, maybe even 7 points to help with pushes there. And also, Ches Malusi, it was announced that he is out for the year with an injury today by Paul Chryst. Doesn't worry me because that just means more carries for Braylon Allen, and I think Braylon Allen's a better player. So, over 40.5.
He's more explosive for sure. Like, I don't know if he's more efficient. I played under 43 here at Open, but like I don't even love that anymore. I mean, whatever. I'm not going to fight you on this.
Anything else before we do a quick review?
I'll go ahead and take Wisconsin laying the 24.5. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and take that.
All right.
And then I'm going to take in the Utah-Arizona game. I'm going to take Utah laying the 24. I think Utah is getting right at exactly the right time since they switched to Cam Rising. And that's one of the reasons I think at Oregon, like they just want to get out of Dodge because they need to start paying attention to that game. I don't think Arizona's that good. And Utah has 2 dudes, especially Devin Lloyd on the defensive side of the ball, leads the Pac-12 in sacks and tackle for loss. He's probably a first-round talent. Their front 7, as it always is really good. So I like the under in that game as well.
For Utah-Arizona?
Utah-Arizona.
All right, so we're doing a Danny DK double here.
Yeah, 2-for-1 special. Let's go. What's the number I get? Is it
54 is the best I could find you.
54. Perfect.
All right.
Can I get one more on log on fire here?
Hell yeah, you can.
All right. I want under 68, New Mexico State, Alabama. They didn't run the ball worth the damn last week. I think Nick Saban will try to establish the run more. If they're going to break out anything new for their final 2 games, now is probably not the week to show it. New Mexico State is not really an explosive offense. And we certainly run the risk of what happened against Southern Miss here. But I got to play the under.
Let's review for those watching on youtube.com/cover3 up on the screen. A lot of action. Danny was trying to be disciplined, and he's still 1 pick behind Bud. All right, Tom has Michigan -1, Oklahoma -5.5, Purdue +21, Boston College +2, Tulane Tulsa under 55.5, Oklahoma State TCU over 54.5, Houston -24.5, South Carolina +1, the Mississippi State Auburn under 50, Northwestern Wisconsin over 40.5. That is a lock fight with Danny on Michigan-Penn State. That is a lock fight with Bud on Tulane Tulsa total, and a lock fight with Danny on Missouri South Carolina. Lock agreement with Chip on Oklahoma -5.5. Chip's got Michigan, Penn State under 48.5, Oklahoma -5.5, Notre Dame -5.5, Iowa, Minnesota under 37.5, USF +23.5, Georgia, Tennessee over 56, North Carolina, Pitt under 72.5, Maryland, Michigan State over 60.5, and Washington State +14. That is UNITY on Washington State. That is a lock fight with Bud on Maryland and Michigan State. Lock agreement with Danny on South Florida, the Georgia, Tennessee total, and the North Carolina Pitt total. Lock agreement with Bud on Notre Dame, and then the aforementioned Oklahoma with Tom. Danny's got Penn State +1, Michigan, Penn State first half under 24, Oklahoma State -12.5, Florida State +3, USF +23.5, Georgia, Tennessee over 56, North Carolina Pitt under 72.5, Missouri -1, Washington State +14, Maryland +13.5, Wisconsin -24, Utah -24, 2-for-1 special. Utah, Arizona under 54. Let's see what we haven't mentioned. Lock fight with Bud on Florida State, Miami. And yeah, that should be pretty much everything. Bud, Oklahoma-Baylor under 62.5, Michigan-Penn State first half under 24, Notre Dame -5.5, Miami -2.5, Tulane Tulsa over 55.5, Notre Dame Virginia first half under 31.5, and Rutgers +7 against Indiana, Maryland Michigan State under 61.5, Washington State +14, Kansas Texas under 62.5, Iowa State Texas Tech under 58.5, Houston Temple under 54.5, UCF SMU over 60, and Alabama New Mexico State under 68. We now turn our attention to those money line sprinkles. What do we have for the sprinkles this week?
Do we go over last week first?
Last week, Tom got a win against you for UNLV. Losses were West Virginia and Mississippi State. Chip got a win for Memphis. Losses were West Virginia and Washington. A win for Purdue with Danny. Took an L on FSU, Auburn, and Liberty. And then a win for Bud on Wyoming +155. Losses on USC, Southern Miss, and West Virginia.
All right. Well, my money line sprinkles this week got 3. Nothing too crazy, but decent. Syracuse +135.
Dino drop. Let's go.
Agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Arkansas State +130. I know I said at the top of the show I'm not betting Sunbelt anymore, but this is a money line play. This is different to me. I just think that the Red Wolves can get this win more than that price suggests. And finally, Nevada +130.
Lock agreement.
Ooh, love it. Okay. Bud.
Already said Cuse. Let's go ahead and give me who else did I want? I probably should have this ready, right? I'm not even going first.
All right, I got it. We're going to USF. Let's go. It would be hilarious if Ray J is firing cannons and the Bulls get the biggest win of the Jeff Scott era with Cincinnati in town on a Friday night, 6 p.m. kickoff. You don't walk in to that big old boat for a 6 p.m. Eastern time Friday night kickoff and think you're going to push around the home team and show them who's boss. Let's go.
Plus
Bulls.
1,200.
Yeah.
Okay, two more. ECU going up against Memphis. We cashed that Memphis money line. Big time letdown, big time hangover spot. Pirates need another win to go bowling. Schedule's a little bit tough. It includes Cincinnati at the end of the season. And whatever. UConn. The Jim Mora bump. Huskies in Death Valley.
That's 15,000.
What's the number?
South Point has a 15,000. WinBet has a 5,000, and nobody else is even putting a number on this game.
Yeah, I don't even see numbers.
Chip, if you hit this, you could basically just not play the next 3 or 4 years and still be the Locks Pod champ, like in perpetuity. That's pretty impressive.
How could I possibly take that, Dwight? That he asked in the chat, because it would be hilarious.
I'm trying to find it
because we're gonna have to tune into what. Listen, even if Clemson wins this
I
game,
can see the 15. I can see the plus 15,000. It's there.
Yeah, I found it.
All right.
I found my other 2 I want, by the way. Chip, are you done?
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Okay.
I can put no more units out there after taking USF and UConn.
All right. I want Minnesota. I know they just lost to Tom's Illinois team.
Damn right.
Iowa is capable of losing to anybody with how bad their offense is. Plus 195 is the best number I see.
Yep.
That was it.
Andy, do you have anything besides Nevada?
Oh yeah, I'll take. I'm gonna take LSU. You see the helmet up there? Got my helmet playing at home in Baton Rouge against Arkansas. I was actually impressed with the fight. I think maybe you see that again. I just look athletically. I think this team is more talented. I think they get the win. I'm gonna go NC State. Our guy Devin Leary. Bud called it out. I started doing some research. Left off that Davy O'Brien is an egregious omission. And there were 2. We said Anthony Jones at Oregon was one of the quarterbacks that we were a little bit surprised was ahead of him. How about Stetson Bennett on the list and Devin Leary is not? Like, that's the ultimate brand bump. You're just a quarterback of the number 1 team in the country.
And it's been productive, though. Like, I'll give it to him.
Anthony Brown top 20. Like, I love the Stetson Bennett story. I absolutely love it. But the fact that he's on the Davy O'Brien is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And, like, we still every week we're like, are we going to get JT Daniels? That, to me, is a little bit outrageous. I'm also going to throw – I have LSU, NC State. I'll go Baylor. I had a play last week at plus 180. Last week we had our pregame show. I said it's all going to take care of itself. Parlay, like Oklahoma, I don't know, like they've been complaining about their ranking. Like, hey, if you're not that good, they've been flirting with disaster. It wasn't that long ago that they were losing to Kansas. So I'm going to say that one, Waco, is going to be lit with all the people in town. Speaking of, wouldn't it be hilarious? And everything comes out in the wash. I've been saying it all along. I'm going to swing for the fences.
New Mexico
Knoxville is going to be crazy this week. This could be the time for Hendon Hooker, who I've been watching film of. Super impressive, up-tempo. Maybe they could get out early in front, keep that crowd singing, the checker block in the background. Like, put it out there. What's my number? And since Chip swung for the fences, I got to swing for the fences too.
I can get you a 775. Oh, where do you got, Chip?
Oh, no, I was guessing that it was in the 800.
I got 2 900s on the board.
Where?
Perfect. Give me those 900s. You heard it.
Actually,
give me those 900s.
Circa has 945, Westgate 900, South Point 900.
I heard 945, just so you guys all know that too. I went from the penthouse to the outhouse on my sprinkles, probably because it plays like this.
We're still profitable as a pod, and there's no reason not to.
Oh, geez, I'm going to screw that up, aren't I?
All right, total college football non-conspiracy theory thing that Danny was really on top of. So, if you don't think a 2-loss non-champion Bama can get in, I think you need to put your money where your mouth is, because you can bet right now Bama to miss the playoff, and you can bet Bama to win the SEC, which means that obviously you get an automatic 16% return on your money on your total bet, which is pretty nice to have with Christmas gifts coming. If you really 100% believe that a 2-loss Bama has no shot, and those numbers hanging out there like that imply that this is not like, it's certainly a long shot, but it's not like a, hey, 1 in a million type shot. I mean, you're getting 16% back on your money if you do that. I'm not going to do that because I think Danny's right. I think the committee's setting up a 2-loss non-champ Bama to have a legitimate argument to get in and maybe put them in if the right things happen. I just want to give you some props around that.
I mean, he is the CFP on shaman. So he leads the charge for the Army wherever they go. You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Danny Cannell. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Reminder, we'll be back live on Saturday night, breaking down all the Week 11 action in the instant reaction. We're going to be shooting for about 11:30 p.m. Eastern time, plus or minus a few minutes, but that's the target. And like I said, if you subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/cover3, smash the bell for notifications, then you find out. So you can just be sitting there and boom, notification pops up. Clear everything off of your coffee table, or maybe just project us onto your big screen. Make us a part of your Saturday night. We enjoy having the conversation. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.